Hi, Providence. I want to begin this farewell address with a brief story. And depending on how you were raised or what you study at this classical liberal arts institution, you may in fact know it very well. In a land marked by ancient magic, place of dwarves, fauns, talking beasts, a blessed king and queen ruled alongside their son. One morning, the prince and his mother were traveling horseback with the group and paused for a rest in the grass. But this rest was halted by the venomous bite of a serpent at the hand of the queen. In vengeance, the prince returned to the site to search for and slay his mother's murderer, until one day he was taken captive by an enchantress who had been disguising herself as the serpent all along. Her kingdom was opposite to the prince's, underground in a dark abyss. She fed him lies and incrementally persuaded him to lose all memory of the light of the overland. But most importantly, there was 1 hour that the prince was restricted by sitting in a chair made of silver. For in this hour, he would lose all sanity and must be restrained from hurting others. This story is prologue to the 6th book and one of my favorites in the Chronicles of Narnia, The Silver Chair. Throughout the story, Lewis ties one theme in particular that is the focal point of this presentation: lunacy versus sanity. The word lunatic is derived from the Latin word luna, meaning moon, of course. In classical medievalism, the word lunatic referred to someone influenced by changes in the moon. The nocturnal ornament that we know as the moon changes its phases depending on its season, thus connected in the Middle Ages to psychological turmoil. The Silver Chair is a novel that's rich in references to the moon and to the question of sanity in the light of the prince's struggle while he's in the chair. On more than one occasion, I find myself in a similar state as Prince Rilian at my time in college, battling for my sanity in the midst of darkness and confusion sometimes. So what direction am I headed with this? Throughout your time in college, whether at an institutional or personal level, you will sometimes feel like this prince. You will feel like you are in the underland. You will face the darkness of disappointment, the gaslighting of some people, or just the basic experience of living with broken humans and an all-encompassing feeling that your sanity is fading. Not limited to Providence, but life overall will test you what you believe about what is true about yourself, about God, about other people. Over the course of 4 years, you will sometimes feel like you are bound to a silver chair in one way or another. I will return to this analogy in a moment, for it's incomplete, so I'm going to pivot for a second. In order for the prince to be found and rescued in the novel, the protagonists are given 4 signs or postmarks by Aslan. They act as set as instructions in their journey to reach him and to bring him to the light of the overworld and to his sanity. In a similar way, I have learned 4 signs, sacraments, or pieces of advice that I'd like to pass to my friends and classmates this morning to think about as you journey and search for your own sanity and find Christ at your time in college. The first sign is the following: you will find your deepest longings in the heat of your greatest anger. You will find your deepest longings in the heat of your greatest anger. Whether righteous or otherwise, anger reveals what we love and what we value the most. On the note of C.S. Lewis, he said the following: I sat with my anger long enough until she told me her real name was grief. In my moments of confusion, whether righteous or otherwise, I slowly realized its truer form was grief. One of the greatest words of advice someone has ever given to me was an analogy in the following: grief is like a hot cup of coffee. You can't drink it all at once. You have to sip it slowly. You have to be careful because some people will force this down your throat. They'll burn your throat. When you face sufferings of unfairness, betrayal, and the casual evil of human nature, your sanity itself will be tested in what you value and what you love, and this will be revealed through what makes you angry. In the moments you want to lose your mind, catch yourself and ask yourself, what is it you love most? And then ask the following question: is it right to be holding on, or is it time to let go? My second sign is the following: be cautious of false prophets. Okay, one of the greatest lessons I've learned in the past 4 years, and I can say this with care and caution, is that Christians are capable of great evil. Because of trust, it's always a catch, and you don't expect this when it happens. But in Matthew 10:16, it states the following: I'm sending you into a pack of wolves, so that I call you to be gentle as doves and crafty as serpents. This refers to the watching out for snares, not just enemies, but for cosplayers too. This is the one and only time the Bible portrays the creature of the serpent in a positive light, for it's referring to the virtue of the wise, the shrewdness, and the street smartness that we need to have. Jesus made this comparison as a tool for his disciples to be discerning, because Christians can mess up too. Wisdom is not equivalent to dishonesty in this context, and innocence is not implying a gullible nature, unless you come face to face with the fact that people will disappoint, even those that claim the name of Christ. You'll find yourself deeply confused and slowly lose your sanity in the underland. Third sign: if you take care of time, time will take care of you. If you're friends with me, you know I'd love to travel and would live and work in Europe one day if I could choose. But I have this tendency to move and to think fast. It recently occurred to me that those things are actually in conflict, mainly because in the United States, we're psychologically accustomed to and sold the idea that fast signals quality. We treat time as if it's gas in a car, something that gets us to where we want to be despite what occurs along the way. In the summer of 23, I worked for a church in Manchester, England, and the family I stayed with gave me a book as a farewell gift called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. I found out he providentially, coincidentally, teaches at Vintage Church in Santa Monica. Comer communicates that it has been until recently in human history that rest and peace has been viewed as inconvenient and unproductive. Furthermore, the obsessive hurriedness of our culture is a block in growing closer to God, or even growing closer to yourself. Thus, the third sign is that you should take care of time, and time will take care of you, and your sanity will thank you as well. The fourth and final sign, you will have to truly face yourself in order to face the divine. And in order to face God, you have to face yourself. These signs I've presented so far hinge on knowing others and knowing your surroundings, but one of the most important steps towards knowing God is growing in an understanding of who you are as made imago Dei. This doesn't just mean getting help when you need it from a counselor or advice from a professor. It means looking for ways to take responsibility for your circumstances, to own your mistakes if something goes wrong, but also to celebrate when you've accomplished something great. It's the practice of becoming obsessed with being the better version of yourself. And when you practice these small steps of self-awareness, you'll grow closer to God along the way. These signs have helped me keep my sanity, but there's a key feature to the nature of the silver chair in the novel I haven't explained. Although the prince is trapped in confusion and darkness in the Underland, he's not insane for all of the time. This is because he was lied to about the experience of being in the chair. At the novel's climax, the main characters come to the realization that the hour in which Prince Rilian was bound to the chair, he was not experiencing lunacy, he was experiencing sanity. It seemed like he was going crazy. In that moment, where the spell was unapplicable, he knew what was real and what was not real. The crux of my argument this morning is that the times that you feel like you're buried in darkness, disappointment, confusion, even for valid reasons in the Underland, there's also this possibility that you're actually sitting in the silver chair of your own realization of the truth about yourself, about others, and about God. In the Underland, some things are untrue. It's emotionally cold, it's dark, but it doesn't mean it's completely insane. You're going to have the moments of sanity and insanity. It's up to you to grow closer to God and to discern what is true and what's not true. What is a priori truth? What is good? What is beautiful? What is true about God, about yourself, about other people? In closing, I would like to recite an original poem that I've written, one of the first poems I've ever written in my life, and I'd like to dedicate it to the meaning of this speech and then my time at Providence. Cathedral in Pasadena, faces here find themselves between patch of briar and bed of roses. Classroom seats, whether black felted or steel, all are in metaphor still made of silver. Regal arcs and old-fashioned hues, lunacy in the myths others told you, but there is saneness in the sacredness that still surrounds you. This place, call it Crescent, asked for a forced smile, to be poised in the heart of pain. Though lunacy lurks as you race through the day, sacred sanity sits with you when you quietly stop to listen, to be attuned to the bit of good, timelessness, and truth. Crescent shape slowly and cursed becomes a circle, the shape that brings us back to the beginning of all, the crown of thorns, worn by Christ, the ransom who embraced the death of lunacy of humanity and became the sacrifice so that we could embrace his love, flawless logic, and eternal holy sanity itself. That's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for your time.